Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. We are going to talk Avalanche. The season started yesterday. We're going to talk a little bit of college football prospects, and we are going to cover the Broncos win versus the Eagles, as well as their matchup this upcoming week. So stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Yo, welcome to the show. Let me set the scene. Mile High Sports Symposium, living the dream. Broncos in the house with that orange and blue. Nuggets making moves, watch that altitude crew. Avalanche bringing ice, check the skills they display. Rocky swinging bats, ready for game day. Rapids in the mix, kicking it with style. Buffs bring the heat, put the rivals on trial. Out docking JJT, they got the scoop. Mile High vibes, feel that energy rise. Sports on the menu, watch the crowd mesmerize. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews, one of your hosts, and I'm here with the doctor, Nicholas Manning at DR_in Manning on X. Doc, how are you today? How you been?
Well, good. Not as good as you. So I had your kids while you were gone. They're awesome. It was good. Whole bunch of bro time. But you know what, man? It was a busy week, but to be honest, it's all the same. But that Broncos win, man, not gonna lie. It was legendary, and like it just, you know what I mean? Like it just makes it just so much better.
Yeah. The morale is
catch the world up on the travelings.
Yeah, I went to Boston, which was cool. I'd never been to Boston before. We went for 5 days, and I had some good seafood, saw the town a little bit, went to Salem and just kind of the surrounding areas, checked out the foliage this time of year. So we drove through New Hampshire and Maine. It was good, man. It was good. We enjoyed it. Just some time, me and the wifey and some people on my side of the family. Good reset from work. Just just living life and doing the best we can, and just taking advantage of our village. So thanks for watching those kids for us. I'd say we owe you, but I think we trade vacation. Babysitting, quote unquote. I don't really consider family babysitting, but you know what I mean.
Yep. I'm glad you're able to go. The leaves hit different out there, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just so many trees.
I mean, it's just like you think
trees,
like you think
not like that.
Estes Park is nice, and you're like, yeah, and then you go up there, and it's like, oh, yeah. Like you got one thing, I'll give you that, and then probably seafood or something.
Yeah, seafood is good. I know. I don't get to eat much seafood around here, and then sometimes like when you can eat seafood, it's like, I don't know how fresh seafood is in Colorado generally. So like sometimes I'll just opt the other way.
Yep.
What's up, Johnny? Good wins. We'll get into those for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. Maybe let's do sports, bro. Let's do sports.
Yeah, let's do sports. Let's do it.
Yep. So first, knocking on the door of the 2025/2026 season. I think that's always hard. That they go in like a scholastic seasons, It's like the school year. Colorado Avalanche start the season 4-1, up 4-0 before giving up a goal in the third. What was it, like 7 minutes left? Something like that. But you watched it in detail. What was your take? How do they look to you against a Kings team who is pretty solid? I mean,
Yeah, they're a good team. They're a good team. They're a physical team.
Yep.
So first period was pretty, it's kind of that feel it out period. I think you guys are still knocking off rust. There was a lot of play in the neutral zone, not a lot of time spent in either zone offensively. But physicality, you could tell, was there from the get-go. It seems like this group, or maybe, having aged a little bit with this group, they play a little more physical than previous. We were a beat you with speed team, and we definitely have that gear still. But we've got some guys that like to scrap. I think with Landeskog being back in the mix, you can always count on him to be physical. I think with a guy like Brett Burns, who we got in free agency, he's towards the end of his career, but he's still a physical defenseman. Josh Manson, there's guys up and down the lineup that either have size or play with physicality, and so it's nice to have that kind of wrinkle back. I feel like we've been missing that a little bit over the last couple years. I think they had the ability to play physical, but it was not really in their DNA. They were more of a speed, finesse, kind of score and get up on you as quick as possible, or like they like to do previously, fall behind and then come up and score, 3 goals to take the lead, 5-minute span. But definitely a different feel to this team. This team feels more confident. I think this team feels more I feel like their identity is a little bit more dynamic. I think their identity is a little bit more of a developed. It's just a different personnel grouping. We're seeing different guys in there. We're seeing guys. I don't remember who was calling the game last night, but they made a good point. Like, you have all the things in your top 6 that you have physicality, you have skill, you have speed, you have goal scoring, you have passing, you have guys who grind. Like, it's nice to have just kind of all of the weapons in the arsenal in that first group. And so it was fun to watch. Nate was dishing. I think he ended up, I don't remember if he ended up with 2 or 3 assists. Lehkonen had a goal. Nate just had 2 goals. And then I don't remember who had the other goal. I'd have to think about it. Kale, no, that was the Lehkonen goal.
Oh, gosh, dang it.
I know.
It was Malinsky, right? Was it Malinsky?
Oh, yeah. Malinsky from the point. He just kind of threw one, like from the point right into the corner of the net. It was a great shot. So, yeah, I mean, the team feels good. They felt pretty dominant in that second period. I think third period got a little messy. They spent a lot of time on the penalty kill. Though I will say the only goal that the Kings scored was on 5-on-3. And that's a nice feeling when you play a full game and really kind of dominate. And the only way they're able to get a goal is when it's 5-on-3. Wedgwood played great in net. Just overall a really nice game to set the tone for the season. And it's just it's fun that this season is arriving. More to talk about for us on this pod, and I will be watching closely. I know you'll watch closely as well. But it's
didn't think of 3 for, was it 3 for 4 on the power play?
I don't. You mean like the penalty kill? Because I think they only scored 1 goal on the power play. What was the
penalty kill?
Yeah. I think they were either 4, like killed 4 or 5, or 3 or 4, something like that. I would say special teams probably needs a little bit of work still. I think they spent a lot of time in their zone in the third period. Weren't able to clear the puck very well. That'll take a little bit of time. I don't think it's, one game, you're not panicking. Same with power play. They moved the puck really well at times. And they probably could have, in other games, may have come away with a goal. But it just wasn't, it didn't find the back of the net for them. But nothing to be worried about as of right now. It will kind of keep an eye on the trend of that as the season goes on. But just a nice win, a nice, kind of setting the tone for the season. And just seeing our guys back out there, the guys that we, I don't want to say we've watched them grow up as Avs, right? We've watched Gabe kind of grow up as an Av, even though he's been out quite a bit lately. Seen McKinnon and Kale, in their prime or entering their primes for Kale, which is pretty crazy to say since he's so young still and has won 2 Norris trophies. And it's fun to see them mesh with new guys. And so,
Yeah.
you've got your mainstays, you got your new guys, and it'll be fun season to watch for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's, getting Sammy back right before, Blackwood's out for a little bit. So it's so cool to see Scott Wedgwood. Yeah. Come in, man.
Yeah, man.
And the 96%.
That's a great asset to have is a good backup goaltender. If Blackwood goes down, you still got a guy that you can rely on. And I think he showed that last year too, was just nails when he needed to be. Doesn't give up bad goals, just an overall nice performance from the team. I'm excited to continue to watch them.
Yeah, it's a good start. I think you got to be excited. I really appreciated Jay's comment for sure. We've talked about it before. It's like, the Cronkies are a lot of things, but they're committed to winning, and especially in that roof. And they are not cheap with their teams. Rest of life, maybe. Rams jerseys aside.
I know. It's true.
But I loved Kale being like, but I'm a Bronco fan.
But he's also like, that's my boss. Like I kind of got to, I've got to do what he says.
And to be honest,
and also go Broncos.
Yeah, if I were at another team's game and it's like it's an NFC team, and I didn't like the other team or whatever, and I was with a buddy, I'd wear that stuff. Like it's fine. I wouldn't take pictures in it, but whatever. No. You do what you can. But the commitment to winning, and I know we'll talk a ton of Nuggets as we get closer to opening tips. Not today, but the building's committed to winning, and I think now you see the example too with the Broncos, and we'll talk about them quite a bit with just championship mentality, and anything less is unacceptable, and you won't win a championship every year. You're correct, and that's why I said within the building, not on the pitch, because Arsenal fans are struggling. Appreciate you, Chris. So I think really, give credit where credit's due. I think keeping even the Rantanen trade, which I think we all can have a ton of feels about. You got Marty Netchus who comes in, scores 2 goals game one. I think it'll be really interesting to see how his price tag goes. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. I saw some numbers, hoping it was a little bit more in the 8 to 10 range. And I think, Connors just signed a deal about $12 million. I know McDavid re-signed short-term deal at 12.5, just to give the Oilers flexibility. Like, nice job. And with the cap going up, those numbers will rise. It'll be really interesting to see how he plays. One, because I think no matter who that forward is, whether it's Rantanen, whether it's Netchus, whether it's you play next to Nate, gets the Jokic effect, you're going to get numbers. And so do you still continue to kind of recycle maybe that, that thought of get a really talented guy that maybe he's underachieved a little bit over there, prop him up. Too bad you don't get comp picks in hockey, but that'll be really interesting to see, the big piece coming back. Cause I think Jack Drury's under contract for a couple more years at a pretty low rate. And so, one, he'll be, if you don't sign him at 25, he'll be a really big trade chip come the deadline. But again, then you're really, it's probably going to be a big overhaul in what you're getting at the trade deadline. And then you got a couple months to get it ironed out before the Stanley Cup playoffs. Or do you hitch it to that G-Wagon? And what's he wanting? And, how's that going to fit with your long-term plans?
Yeah, I think Drury is a guy to keep an eye on. I think yesterday he had some really good defensive plays. I think offensively he kind of left that line wanting more. And I think some of it's just going to be growing into that role and playing with the guys that, just building some chemistry with the guys he's playing with. But someone that I would keep an eye on, we had such an issue with our second line center for so long. And now I think, now we're looking at third line center thinking, Drury's the guy, and I think that he's certainly got the potential to be. But I think that's someone to keep an eye on. As we kind of come closer to the trade deadline. Obviously, again, one game doesn't tell the whole story, but I think I'd like to see some growth from him offensively. Had some really nice defensive play though. So you take what you can get. Game one, get a win, pretty dominant win on the road against a good physical team, and just nice to see them being willing to hit. Manson got in a scrap. With some guy whose brother is an MMA fighter, is a UFC fighter. Apparently, I didn't know that. And held up okay, considering he's an older guy that was at the end of his shift.
That was the sign of I'm getting whooped, and I'm a little bit bitter. Landy said after, like, it was a clean hit. He
lit that dude up though. That dude entered some other universe.
He did. He took a break. He took a break from reality for
that was brutal for sure.
But you know what? I think, that's what you appreciate about the game. I having Landy back, man. It's getting in a fight in the first preseason game because they laid out Kale. I think it goes to show that that physical nature in just be able to do whatever needs to get done, and he's good. And I think you don't have a lot of guys like that are top 20 players in their sport, then be willing to also do the dirty work. Not that, and that's why he's the captain, and that you could tell that that's what's been missed. And so with that, I think that element too of we can go lay some guys out and skate around you. I think is just a real tremendous addition. Is the goalie situation settled?
I think it's settled.
Blackwood is healthy. We got Wedgwood. I think it's what they kind of do 2-1, 2-1, 1-2 kind of thing. It's like 60-40 right now. But I think they like both their options. I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah, I think Mackenzie Blackwood's the de facto starter. But it is nice to have Wedgwood as kind of a backup and a guy that can spell your starting goaltender, and you feel good about your chances with him in the net. So, everyone, please make sure you like and subscribe. It would do a lot for us. So
comment, do the algorithm stuff.
All the things.
Appreciate it.
All the
things.
For
the kids. All the things. All right. Let's transition a little bit to football, shall we?
Yeah. Some college ball. I want to talk some prospects. We're always looking at guys that we like, guys we're excited about. We can get up to into matchups sometimes that feel like your team is declining, unfortunately. But started hot. They've got some good prospects there. Anyone that you want to throw out as just a guy that you like, someone that you are interested in, someone you'll be keeping an eye on, maybe a potential Broncos pick?
Well, it's not a potential Broncos pick, but I think to provide my man Chris with the credit where the credit is due. As a Florida State fan, it's very hard for me to give credit to a Miami Hurricane. Yeah. But one, Carson Beck, I thought he looked the part. I have not been impressed with him a ton in his time with the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
But I thought he was steady, he was smart, he was efficient. They got some dudes, Francis Mwaga, I think, is a really good tackle. Ruben Bain Jr., I think, is probably the best prospect, if not in this class, in the top couple. So
for sure.
You just saw. You saw the talent gap that they go, and then when your quarterback is, it should be a first round pick probably. With that kind of talent around, I think you saw them start to pull away from Florida State, tip your cap to it. But I really like what their best guys did, which I just thought was super cool to see from them as a appreciation of football. So one, that's the only time it's going to happen. Chris, you'll never hear it again. We'll never give your guys due. So don't ever ask again. But I think it's one of those where it's like, you never went wrong drafting Georgia players, Alabama players, right? It's like sometimes like just be smart, and I think those guys right now have shown to kind of be that. I really like CJ Daniels, receiver for Miami, on way from LSU, I believe. And then, Malachi Tony is going to be baby Jesus. It's going to be a problem for the next handful of years. And so I would say that's a team ripe with talent. Scout the crap out of it.
Yeah.
You probably won't go wrong. I know you really like, it was Mark Fletcher, right? I think you talked about him a couple shows ago, just a big bruiser. And I think he's a guy that'll lean on you. And it's nice to have those guys. And so I liked what I saw from them. It was one of those where it's just like, yeah, you're better than us. And, they were Globo Gym. We're better than you. And we know it. I mean, you're a Ohio State fan. That was essentially you last year. So that's, I think, kind of my tip of the cap. And when in doubt, I think that's a team to go take a peek at, because you're going to see NFL talent in every position group. So whether it's first round talent or not, those will be guys that'll play on Sundays and probably guys that'll contribute for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is a team that's pretty stacked with talent. It's a fun one to watch. And I mean, quarterback play's been good, man. I think that it'll be interesting to see. There's a conversation, obviously when Beck was with Georgia, it didn't go according to plan per se. They won
a title with him, didn't they? Like, he played pretty well there, but it's also like he got the what is it, right? What from draft day that no one came to his birthday party? Oh yeah, I'm talking about. I kind of got that treatment, like he was a clown, or like guys just didn't like him. He was maybe trying to feel his oats a little bit in the sense of like big man on campus and all those things. But you know what? You think he secured the bag to go to Miami, and rightfully so. And I think that was an offense and a system that probably suited him a little bit better, a little bit more open, allows him to do, to put himself on that stage. So but I actually, you know what? I'm going to tee you up because I want you to talk about one of your guys who I really like him. I think he has the size and frame to be a really impactful linebacker. Arvell Reese, 6'4", 240. I know you had that retweet where he one arm stemmed the tackle for Ohio and then just tossed him like a rag doll.
Just tossed him with one arm.
But I think that's a position group, whether Dre Greenlaw comes back and is Dre Greenlaw or not. With Alex Singleton being the last year of his deal, Justin Stronach will be a free agent. Drew Sanders is a myth. And that's a position, at least in my opinion, that not only should the Broncos scout, but potentially early. Like, go get you a impact player. I really like what Jihad Campbell brought to Philly's defense even before this week. But just sometimes getting a good player, regardless of what that, if it's first round, to Jack Campbell from Iowa for the Lions, making a smart decision at one of those positions, especially when you don't need to reach for other positions now that you have a deep roster. He's a guy I really like. So maybe if you want to talk about him and maybe what he would bring to the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, Arvell Reese, linebacker, Ohio State. He is, man, he's an athlete. I was watching the game in Boston, and they had some numbers pop up on the screen about him, and he is right around 225, I think. So he probably could put a little bit more weight on his frame if he's going to continue to play linebacker, especially in the middle of the field. But he has a 38-inch vertical, which is pretty insane. He was clocked at 23.5 miles per hour on the football field. Like, he's an insane athlete. He's going to be a guy that he's going to have hype going into the combine, but he's going to be a guy that, as long as he's healthy and participates, he's going to be a guy that someone will fall in love with just the tools. I think there's still a little bit, he needs to increase his strength a little bit, I think. He is a little bit light in the pants, so I think has a hard time disengaging sometimes from blocks. But, he's a guy that you look at a guy like Nick Benito in the more slight frame, but the explosive speed that he has off the edge, you have a potential to kind of mold him in that way if you like, or his ability to get east and west is just so good. Like, there were times this season with a guy like Singleton who's coming off of injury where you just kind of miss the tracking ability and kind of from side to side in the field. He's a guy that you wouldn't have to worry about that with. He's going to close. These Ohio State players, all of them pretty much on that defense, are good at tracking guys, keeping the ball in front of them, and then just being able to get to the ball. So, light in the pants. It means you got to put some weight on, man.
gotta get some junk in the trunk.
Yeah, got to put some
anchor.
Some concrete
anchor when you don't got to anchor.
Some concrete in your drawers to keep you anchored. But yeah, man, he's a good player. He's a good player. Wanted to highlight a guy that could also be a Broncos pick. Probably not a first day guy, but there's a tight end out of Baylor. His name's Michael Trigg.
Yep.
Dude had the most insane left-handed one-hand catch last week that was just beautiful to behold. But the guy is a natural pass catcher. He's 6'4". I think he's 240, 235, something like that. So he's good tight end size. He could probably put on a few more pounds. After watching him in the blocking game a little bit more, they really use him in the slot a lot as a receiver. I don't know if his long speed is great, so I don't know if you'll see him running a lot of seams, but working over the middle of the field, dude catches everything. You throw it. I know there was at least one in the game that I was watching yesterday, the day before, where they just it was a throw over the middle, and it was just so high. He went up and just high pointed it, brought it down, got 15 yards. Like, he's got a great catch radius. He's gonna catch it if you get in his vicinity. He's a guy that I'm intrigued by. So if you haven't heard of him or haven't looked into him, check him out. He could be I think a day 2 guy, depending on how his testing goes, how the season goes. They got a big win over K-State by a single point. And there's a few guys on that Baylor team. I think it's actually a pretty talented team.
Yeah, I do too.
If you take some time, if you're a scout guy, you like looking for some diamonds in the rough, I think Baylor's got a few of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a crack at it. Hold on. How do you pronounce? So there's a lineman for Iowa. It is Olave Vea Ioane.
Okay.
I'm not going to go with what it all means and stuff, but interior offensive lineman from Washington, so junior Penn State, 6'4", 328. Yeah. That's not taking a crack at it. That's Googling the answer. Yeah, well, I looked at it, and then I read it, but I did
it's hard one to memorize.
That's exactly what I would have said anyway. But I really liked what I saw. I thought he was kind of one of the lone bright spots for them, probably over the last couple weeks. That, in my opinion, that was consistent. That really won his matchups against a good Oregon team, and then in UCLA, my man John Franklin. So with the Broncos need, I mean, especially you see Ben Powers will be out for 6 to 8 weeks with bicep injury. Who knows how he'll come back? Big cap hit, and you hope that you have some good depth, but you don't know. Drafting another really good impact offensive lineman, I think, would just be. I'm a trenches guy. Love it. Go get me all the bigs.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Dave Logan just talk about how massive, when you're on the field, and Dave Logan is a former NFL player was a big receiver before there were big receivers, really. That's not true. Not before, but it was really kind of in that mold. And he talked about just how overwhelming Philadelphia's trenches are, just size-wise. They're just bigger. And the Broncos might want to run some more outside zone, but I don't think that's going to be the primary focal point of how they do stuff. So like your wives and girlfriends and boyfriend, like people say, size matters. People, size matters. And he's a big man, and I think you see that with a good athlete like Quinn Miners, who kind of then learns the position. So now you got a nimble, smart, ginormous human, and I've heard that that's good in football. So I'd really like the Broncos to kind of get opportunities to really beef up the beef. And he's a guy I'd like, maybe second round, that kind of thing. I think he'd be someone right in that mix for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think with this team, our offensive line has played well over the last 2 years. But as we've seen already, it's going to be important to have depth. And that's a guy that sounds like he could be a contributor potentially right away, especially if you're talking about having to replace your center at some point. If he can slide inside the center, there's definitely value there. I'm going to give you two more. There's a linebacker out of Tennessee. His name's Arion Carter. I got a different name. I was looking up Jennings Dunker because that's who I thought you were going to say as offensive lineman, because I thought you said Iowa.
Tackle for Iowa. Yeah.
Arion Carter, linebacker for Tennessee. Dude's a playmaker. He's a good athlete. He's good tracking the ball. He's, we're talking again about the linebacker position, which is one that Denver is probably going to be looking to add some depth in the draft. He's just a guy that I like. I need to watch him a little bit more, but he looks to be a good coverage backer, which is nice. It's something that you really need in this league. He wins with athleticism. He's got some burst. I think he probably gets baited by quarterbacks a little bit at times. He's got to have a little more discipline. Just kind of watching quarterbacks' eyes. It definitely pays off at times, but he can get fooled at times too. But he's a guy that I think he's got some pop. He's got some athleticism. You could probably get him. I think coming into the season, there was a high round, a first, second round grade on him. I think that he's probably right around there. It's going to kind of depend on how the season plays out for Tennessee. But they're still looking good, and that defense is pretty solid up the middle at least. So he's a guy that I like. And then who else? I've got so many names written down. I can't ever decide which ones I want to do. Let's go with this is one I got to look up now because I can't say the name either. Lalulu Ayapani. He's a center for Oregon.
Yep.
And I don't think I was rewatching that Oregon Penn State game, and I don't think he didn't lose very many reps in that game. And I think going back and just kind of watching some of his tape, he's just a solid, tough to beat interior offensive lineman. I think you could probably play him all over the interior of the offensive line. Again, we're talking about having to replace a center. He's a guy that I'm not hearing has not much buzz, but at least as a first or early round pick. So he's probably a day two guy as well that the Broncos could target. There's a lot of interesting prospects. It's a funny draft class because this draft class is just, when you're talking prospects early in the year, there's so much that still it needs to flesh itself out.
Yep.
And I think with how much struggle there's been with the quarterback class, of the anticipation of those top guys and how they've kind of not really delivered this far into the season. There's a lot of time for guys to emerge and kind of put their stamp on things. And I think, Senior Bowl and Combine, those are going to be even bigger than they are a lot of times, coming up to the draft. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think there's a lot of interesting guys. I don't know. It's just going to be about value. Where do you value a linebacker? Where do you value? I mean, Caleb Downs is probably the best player in college football, arguably, but no one really drafts the safety first overall. And so it's going to be a lot of interesting, it'll be interesting to see kind of who floats to the top and whether it's based on need or skill.
Yeah. That valuation part, much different than sometimes the evaluation. Yeah, Chris, I agree. I mean, Cam Ward was not the solidified. We've seen that Baker Mayfield. We've seen Joe Burrow. We've seen guys like that, especially at the quarterback position, vault up to the top. You saw that with Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey going into his junior year before he was drafted was a second or third round. And so, there's a lot to play. But again, looking at what the Broncos will need in the end, I like the interior offensive line. I think I said in the end twice. That's not great. Never mind. Looking at the interior offensive line, you can't pay everybody. So you paid minors. McGlinchey's well paid. And right now he's playing really, really well. And so, he's the guy that I would always think would be maybe a cat cut, but he also restructured. So that would leave a ton of dead cap towards the end. So did Ben Powers, but you got to decide somewhere. Even though he's having a really good bounce back year this year before the injury, is that really what we want to do? Garrett Bowles is obviously a mainstay. So you're probably not going to pay Wattenberg big money. And or Ben Pat, one of them will have to go, which really stinks. But keeping 4 out of 5 potentially, or even 3 out of 4, and maybe Paucho gets retained. Maybe Matt Perth shows really well over the next few weeks and he moves in. But then continuing to add to that, because that's what the good teams do. That's what Philadelphia does. That's what Kansas City's done.
Yep.
That's what the Patriots did forever. And so that's what I think would be a good recipe for. So, all right. Well, talked about our prospects, talked about some fits for the Broncos. I like that. That was all good stuff. So I think with that, let's chat about our Broncos. But before we do that, talk about our sponsor. So Dubby, I did try some, got some, not bad.
Nice.
Definitely not as jittery as I usually would have liked it to be, but that's probably a good thing, actually.
Yeah, it's probably not that bad.
Because pre-workout, I want to freak out a little bit. But that's also not great. So again, no sugar, no calories, no other crap. And if you can utilize our code, so OBN10, so it could be orange and blue network, number 10 for Bo Nix or Nicholas Manning back in the day, whatever you want to do. Or it could be, Bo Nix 10, however you want to remember it. Everyone remember it. Utilize that if you can. And then hitting you all with a reminder for our giveaway. So when the Orange and Blue Network on YouTube hits 529 subscribers, same number of touchdown passes as the great Peyton Manning had hit, we will give away a orange Bo Nix jersey. So go and do that thing. And even though we didn't talk about this before we got on, I'm going to kick it to you for the show schedule.
Let's do it. Yeah, we've got a number of shows on the Orange and Blue Network, starting with Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 11. We have the Orange and Blue Blitz. Mondays at 7 p.m., Broncos Bros. Tuesdays at 6 p.m., we've got Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. Wednesdays at 2:30, of course, our show. You know that because you're here. Wednesdays at 6 p.m., you've got Broncos Talk. And then Fridays at 6 p.m., you have Viva Los Broncos. We have a breaking news show. So anytime that there's breaking news at the Broncos, some of the guys from the network will jump on. That is called Fresh Squeeze. And then every game day, 1 hour before kickoff, and every game day right after the game, you've got Get Bucked prior to the game and Buck Your Feelings after the game, just to break it down, to get you set up for game day, and then to get some reactions from you guys. We love interacting with you, so please always feel free to jump in any of the shows at any time. Send us your questions, comments, concerns, all of the above. We love talking sports, and specifically a lot of you are here for Denver Broncos, so we love talking Broncos with you for sure. But I am down to talk about any of the college sports things and apparently college football prospects. So
and that Joe Flacco is now a Cincinnati Bengal and is going to do horrible there.
Hopefully we'll be good.
Line is not good, and my man cannot run. I mean, he's going to throw it up, that's for sure. Jamar about to get the PPR league. Go big. Go big on Jamar because he might only have like 60 yards a game, but he's going to have like 13 catches because the ball's going to have to come out quick because our offensive line is terrible. All right.
You ready for some Broncos talk?
Let's go. Let's do.
Broncos got to win on Sunday versus the defending Super Bowl championships, the champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. What a nice win, man. It's been a long time. I know that there's a lot of talk coming into the season and so far this season that Broncos beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, but they aren't beating teams with winning records.
Yep.
That changed. That's changed, and maybe it is the beginning of a new era. But let's break down the game. First of all, Doc, what did you see? What did you like? What were your takeaways?
So what I liked the most is gumption or cojones or fortitude, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Whatever you call it. This team had yet to show that when the chips were down in a tough environment in one-score games that they knew how to win. And we had talked about, learning how to win. That's why I'm never in favor of tanking, because I think culturally learning is a skill. You have to learn how to do it because it's not just, I'm going to go score more points than them, right? It's about doing the small things. It's about the stuff that happens within the week, how you take care of everybody, just all of the stuff that really has to go and take place. And you saw the team already fumble 2 opportunities to win against good teams on the road. So again, the Chargers pre-Alt an offensive line injury were 3-0, go in there and lose that game. The Colts might be the class of the AFC at the current moment in time. I think they're leading the NFL in points per game, I think, or at least were after the early games on Sunday. And so they should have – the Broncos should at minimum be 4-1. So maybe the Chargers game, I think they got outplayed for a good chunk of that, but they really kind of gave away both. And so with that, you needed a game like this to be able to have evidence to suggest that you are good enough, that you, gosh darn it, people like you, that you're going to be a team that can win. So I think my first impression and takeaway is I think they learned that. I think it was affirming that we're good enough and we can win. What I also really liked, I kind of looked at some of the numbers. Bo Nix in the fourth quarter was surgical.
Mm-hmm.
Surgical. I think it was 9 of 10 for a $140 and a touchdown. And what I thought that was transferable, and I've heard some guys I respect, Benny Fowler, a few NFL guys talk about this, is that he was pretty unflappable throughout the game. He had just missed some throws early. And so it wasn't as though he wasn't making the right read. He was all that stuff. It was just physical error, right? The ball just doesn't land where you want it to land. But the plays were there. And the team stuck to it, stuck with the run game, stuck with what their identity was. And then finally, again, to kind of hammer that point home, going for it for 2 in the fourth quarter, down 1 point. On the road to the Super Bowl champs, won the last 12 home games in Philadelphia, and had won 20 out of 21 games overall. And so that shows, that is put your balls on the table. That is yep. Wheelbarrowing them around like Stan's dad. That's that moment where it's just, I believe in our team and we're good enough and we're coming here to win. It is one of those where I wish we had done that in Cincinnati last year.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you learned a lesson, right? And that you have confidence. Like, let's go out there and win or lose this game. Winning this game meant more than it would have hurt to lose it, I think. I think they played like that. So I think overall, my take was this team learned how to win a tough game, tough opponent on the road, down 14, 1 in 112 in their history of being on the road, down 14 and coming back to win. And And that to me showed kind of the DNA of the team.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I think winning a game like that does so much for you in the locker room. Not that I think that this team was lacking any confidence per se, but you've got some young guys. You've got guys that are still learning how to win in this league, like you said. Winning's a skill. You got to learn how to do the small things. You got to put in work to master the details. And I think you saw kind of the fruition of that with that 2-point conversion play. Something that they had been working on, something they had probably, pounded into their heads, that they had run ad nauseum to make sure that they were ready for that moment. And when it came, they were able to execute. And I think that was just so important to see. I think it's important that Sean Payton shows that he didn't have to show that level of confidence in Bo Nix in that moment, and he chose to. And I think that's going to do a lot. It does a lot for the locker room. I think it does a lot for Bo Nix's confidence. I think after the first couple games, I don't know that Bo had taken a lot of criticism, but there was definitely some criticism in the national media about his missing the ball down the field, just not quite getting the ball where it needs to go at times. In that moment when it was mattered most, he got it where it needed to go. He got it right on the hands of his receiver. He put it in the place only his receiver would catch it. And I think it just kind of is building towards Bo being one of these guys that when you're in the clutch, you can rely on him, and his teammates believe in that, and his coaching staff believes in that. And I think that that's going to be something that becomes, I don't know if you want to say a trademark, but that definitely something that defines his career moving forward is, he's the gamer, kind of forge ahead, and he thinks that he can do it. He has the confidence to do it, and I think that this shows his experience just playing the game of football between last year and his college career. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for the trajectory of this team. I'm excited what this kind of win can bring. And also now you got to go on the road and play a Jets team that has no wins. They're going to have some feelings of desperation, I'm sure. You're not necessarily, no one's really has an advantage going to London, but you're definitely going to have to go and make the best of a tough week to get used to, the time change, all of that.
Yeah.
And but I'm confident this team can do it. I'm confident this team will get it done. And I don't know that last week I would have said that necessarily. If we had dropped this game and it had just kind of ended in a lackluster way, the way it started, that you feel that way. But now, you've got a really good chance to put yourself into a great position in this division, to be at the top, to be at the head of it, and kind of take some control on a week where all of your AFC West opponents, divisional opponents, lost their games. Like, it's such a huge win, and it will be, I think, one we look back at the end of the season and just really understand kind of the importance of, if we don't already.
Yeah, and it's one of those though, and I think we could probably talk all day too about just how Cortland Sutton against Kenyon Mitchell, who I don't think had given up more than 50 yards receiving in the game. And Cortland was an absolute man. And to come back too from dropping that early pass and not allowing that to be a thing, and Bo coming back to him early and often. J.K. Dobbins, I think, provides this team with an attitude at running back that we haven't
100%.
had back there. A little bit from Phil, but Phil more was like scrappy as opposed to like JK's got like boss man vibes, bro. Like, it's 3rd and 1, and I'm gonna get it. If it's 3rd and 6, I'm gonna get it. Just and like the I think the line feels confident.
Not that try hard feel. Like I'm
like I got it, and just like he knows he's good and doesn't even have to tell you, and that he knows he's good, kind of thing. And I think the line appreciates it because it's just, it might not have to be perfectly set up for him to find the hole. And I think it has also, if you've seen it quite a bit, I think RJ Harvey is learning on the fly really well. And I think stylistically he's picking up some of that hesitation, hit the hole, hesitation, hit the hole, instead of just kind of dancing or trying to bounce things outside. So I've really liked what that looked like. I think defensively, Vance Joseph, switching from like 70% or 80% man in the first half to 70% man look, only really pressuring 4. So kind of out Vic Fangio in the game. I thought that was probably pretty cool for him to feel that little bit of like, the guy that replaced me, like eat it. And the team responding, Hufanga, great pressures. McMillan getting a sack. Nick Benito, not only 2.5 sacks, defensive player of the year, front runner, in my opinion, but really when he had to drop in coverage, it was effective. And I think you only do that when your team believes like in what the game plan is, what's being asked of me. I'm being put in positions to make plays for my team, and I'm still going to get mine, some other guy might get featured today or all that stuff. But when all is said and done, if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to get the pressures or one-on-one looks. And I think Nick has shown up. And so I've been excited about that. And I think with that, the thing that I'm transferring to our next part of our conversation against the Jets, who are 0-5, who look terrible. Don't have a turnover on defense, which with their personnel and Aaron Glenn being a defensive coach, it's weird,
odd.
You trip and fall, land into a fumble sometimes. Like someone just drops the ball, things happen, but fumbles. They know that in
drop it before they cross the goal line.
I mean, right? Like just things. Watch out, your coach will punch you.
Right.
But looking at this, like now, for me now, how does this team handle being the hunted a little bit now, right? This is the first time that this group has felt their oats. And that the national media now is kind of there. I'm really glad that they flew straight over so that they're not here getting praise heaped on them, right? Local media, like, tell us what it was like to beat Philly, all the things like, how great are you all? They're going over there, and who knows what British media is asking them, what they think of the royal couple or whatever. I don't know. Fish and chips and all the things. But as much as you want to be the first loss for the Eagles, you don't want to be the first win for the Jets. I think for as proud as you be for that one, it's even more damaging to be the other. And so what do you think, what are some of the keys for you, or what are some of the matchups, or what do you want to see? So kind of what's your thoughts about this game, and how can the Broncos come away with a dub?
Yeah, I mean, I think defensively, you've got to really try and spy Fields and just make sure he doesn't beat you with his legs. I think he's a guy who can do that. We've seen that he can extend plays and get guys open. And so I think that you've got to be aware of that. And it's something that you've got to scheme. You got to put pressure on him. I think they've got to kind of, the feel is different than what you did with Hurts this week, but I think there's some similarities to how you want to mix up your coverages, how you want to make just, have your corners blitz at times. I think that was huge. Like, I think over the last couple of weeks, I think we've had like 3 sacks from our secondary, or from cornerbacks specifically. I know Jaquan got the one this week. So I think you've got to mix it up. You've got to take advantage of the personnel that you have. And then offensively, I think we've got to still see more from receivers not named Cortland Sutton. And I think that that's my biggest worry with this team moving forward, is that guys will show up at times, but then completely disappear. I think I worry about that with our receiving core more than anything else probably right now. I don't think that you fear Breece Hall necessarily. I think with your personnel that you have, you feel like you can keep him reined in pretty good with just some base looks. But I think as far as guys needing to make plays, I mean, Cortland's going to have a tough matchup all day. He was able to play big ball against Quinyon Mitchell. Maybe he can do the same thing this week, but other guys are going to have to step up. Other guys are going to have to make plays. And so I want to see a chemistry build with Bo and Franklin or Bo and Mims, so that we know that, hey, if Court's having a rough day out there, we're not just out of luck. I mean, we saw that with the Chargers. Court had a pretty lackluster day, and you know, then the offense had a pretty lackluster day, kind of in general. And so that's my biggest concern. I think it's just who's going to step up in that receiver room, or maybe Evan Ingram's that guy who we got a touchdown this week. Maybe he starts to get a little more action throughout the game. So those are the two things I would kind of key in on.
Yeah. I think offensively, I really like where Franklin's at. I think coming back from that Monday night game, which I was at, shout out to Johnny. Getting to see you, buddy. Yeah. He's, so Cortland has 26 catches and Franklin has 21. And for the only thing being, right, Cortland is at 365 yards receiving. Franklin is at 231 yards receiving. A couple of that, if some of that is not being able to hold on to a couple of the deep balls. He gets those 2 deep catches against the Bengals. He's at 23 catches for 300 yards. And it looks a little bit different. But I'm definitely buying the Troy Franklin stock, even though, PFF has Pat Bryant as the slot receiver. He hasn't been really utilized much. He's got 2 catches for a handful of yards. I think he would be a guy if they could. I don't think that will happen this week. I do think Evan Ingram coming back now with 12 catches on 19 targets for about 95 yards. So again, he's going to be a guy that's not going to average a ton per catch, but he's going to be a guy that really helps you convert 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 5s. You saw it with the touchdown here against the Eagles, making himself be available, just a smart route, and then getting north and getting the touchdown, right? Knowing what to do situationally. He knew, catch the ball. I know that I got to get north. I got to get north quick. Was able to break a couple tackles, get in the end zone. And so I think those 2 guys for sure in the short term have to continue to help diversify the offense. What I did like that Sean Payton showed that I think will help out the Broncos, especially if Sutton and Sauce are, if that's a matchup maybe they don't like as much, I want to move away-ish from. Trent Sherfield got targets. Adam Troutman got targets. I really like what RJ Harvey has been able to do out of he has 12 catches. So a guy that they're willing to spread the ball around. Marvin Mims is 3rd on the team with 14 grabs. You'd like to see more from him. But the fact that they're able to diversify him, utilize him in the run game, I think you're starting to see the offense get the identity of, everyone's going to get to eat. It's what Josh Allen is doing in Buffalo. I think you're seeing that quite a bit more here in Denver. And so I would love for there to be a 2A or a 1B or whatever. But you kind of see that with sometimes there's the downfall of that. You saw that with AJ Brown and his temper tantrums. You saw him quit on routes. Like I watched when, they had quick games going to the other side. He stopped running. Like he didn't run the route even, or if there was a toss to the other side of the field, he didn't. And so, maybe that's whatever they teach that, like, don't get hurt. Whatever. I would be hard for me to believe that. But having guys who compete, Cortland Sutton talked about, like, hey, I'll go dig the safety out. That's what we would do. We have a group that's committed to winning. Pat Bryant might not be stacking the catches or the targets stat line, but the guy's blocking his ass off. And I think those kind of things have really helped this team continue to improve offensively. Because right now they're top 5 in rushing. For me, to go win ugly, go win 24-16, and J.K. Dobbins has a $120, RJ Harvey has another 60, and you lay it on him. Bo Nix throws the ball 15 times, and you just lean on him. and then come home against a downtrodden Giants team, but just kind of go and handle your business. Because the one area that I think that this team even did last Sunday was to shot themselves in the foot still.
Yeah.
Almost 100 yards and penalties, which I think they're almost averaging per game. They're really just dumb plays. I think Riley Moss played really, really well, except going to press Devontae Smith on like 3rd and 17. And then gets beat for
Right.
It's like, what are we doing? Things like that I think talent-wise, they're good. They have really smart players. They're just not playing smart. And so I think if those two things happen, lean on the run game and play smart, I think Sunday should be a walk in the park offensively. Defensively, I don't think that they have to do anything different. Garrett Wilson is a baller. Breece Hall is a really good player. That said, Membao, I think, and Fashanu, I think, are really good building blocks. I actually really like what they have kind of going up front. I think Tippmann is a guy I wanted in Denver. Taylor, I think, at tight end is a really nice piece, but they are a long way away of being a good team. And I think partially is because Justin Fields throwing the ball isn't it. So I think, keeping him do exactly the game plan for Hurts, rush 4, but confuse them about where they're coming from. Run a lot of zone. He's going to hold on to the ball, and I think within you rally to the ball. However, this time I think you're going to have more opportunities to create pressure without exotic looks. I think Nick Benito against Fashanu is going to be a one-sided affair. I think Zach Allen, this is probably a game where he starts looking like the Zach Allen that of old. And so this to me is a get right game, kind of like Cincinnati was. They have some good players over there, but the Broncos are a better football team and really kind of almost everywhere. Garrett Wilson is maybe the one arguable piece, but this season, I think Cortland has looked just as much. But, I assume Pat will shadow Garrett. And if you saw what happened to him last year, he was pissed at the end of that game last year because Pat absolutely strapped him up. You got the two New York teams back to back. So combined 1-9. And you really got to, it's a good opportunity to go from 3-2 to 5-2 real quick. And not necessarily having to empty your bag, but really getting good at who you are. And I think right now this team has learned that Bo will make plays on third down in the fourth quarter to kind of squeeze out games or to flip a play on its head, which I appreciate. But they're a running football team, and they're a team that wins on defense. And I really like that because I think that that's how this team can win in December and January and hopefully February. Spreading them out 5 wide and all that stuff. We don't have the horses nor the need to. That's not how this offense is designed, and it never has been under Sean Payton. Sean Payton is a guy that you give me one alpha receiver, give me a good tight end, give me a back that I can split out, and give me a guy that runs downhill. And I think they have all of that. So they're going to play a la 2009 Saints, those kind of teams where it's really distributed, win matchups, win with creativity and execution. But not necessarily just mano a mano all over the place. And Bo Nix isn't going to be Aaron Rodgers, where he's just, he's back shouldering it before anyone knew what that was and putting it in windows. Right. He may get there, but the Broncos don't need him to be that. They don't need him to carry the offense. And I think this last Sunday showed the recipe of just stick to what we're good at or what we know. The plays are there. We just got to make them. And if we don't make them this time, we're going to make them again. And I think that that's how they're going to win on Sunday. And so with that, I know we're running a little bit long. I'm going to keep you just here for a second because question really quick, because Sean Payton hasn't announced it, at least at this moment. What do you think that they do at left guard? A couple names just to be aware that are out there on the free agent market if maybe this injury goes longer. So you got Cody Whitehair, former early round pick for the Bears, played with the Raiders last year. John Feliciano, who is an older player, but a pretty solid player for San Francisco, kind of a backup guy that's come in. But Shaq Mason, who kind of cut his teeth as a really good player for the Patriots, goes down to Tampa, good player, goes to Houston, I think gets hurt, but that's what Houston does. And then Brandon Scherf, former top 10 pick up for the Washington football team. and then last few years with Jacksonville. So there's a couple guys I think to keep the names of if they have to go there. But for right now, to me, I think the options are Palczewski, and you got Matt Pert, and then obviously you got Calvin Throckmorton, who's on the practice squad, who I assume that they'll call up just to have, and that's why he's on the practice squad. But do you have a preference on either of those guys? I know Johnny thinks it's going to be Palcho. I think it's going to be Pert, because I think you keep the six, you keep Palcho in his extra tackle set, which they're running a ton anyway. I think the most in the league running that six-man offensive line, so going heavy. So you're not changing that look. You're keeping it. I think Pert is athletic enough to play tackle, big enough to play inside. Been with the team for the last couple of years. So in my opinion, easy transition. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you go with one of those guys. I think probably I would lean. I think that Palczewski's a better player, but I do think that there's some what you're saying is valid, that they run that set with the extra tackle, and I don't know that you want to move him out of that spot either necessarily. So I don't think they're going to get a guy unless they play really poorly this week. Part of that is being in London. I think I've heard, obviously when you have to add a free agent, it's tough to get them over to London and to get them integrated in any way. So probably would happen not this week, but the following week. So see what you got, see what you got.
Yep.
See if you feel like those guys can kind of fill in the meantime, against a pretty good defensive front, really, with the Jets. I mean, that's where their strength's been for quite a few years now.
Right about
so they'll get tested.
Go back to Rex Ryan days, like that's that's at least one aspect of their team that has been a plus for sure.
And the good thing is, like, if Pert gets in there and really struggles, or if Palczewski gets in there and really struggles, there are some good veteran guys out there that you can go get. I like the options that are out there. Scherf is interesting, as kind of a plug and play guy that I think could probably fill in pretty easily. At least for the short term. I think that there are options, which is nice, and veteran options out there, which is a good thing to have. Really quick, let's do predictions for scores.
Yep.
You got score prediction?
Yeah, I think that the Broncos, hats off to the Cowboys, looking like, and Javonte just balling out. I think that they provided a pretty good template on what to do. I don't think that New York's going to score much. So I have the Broncos 27-10. I think that they're riding high. I think that they're going to come out pretty quick. I think New York is just a bad football team. And if the Broncos don't turn the ball over, reduce the penalties, I think that they can put 27 up and still feel like they left another 14 on the board.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking too. I think I was going to go 28-15, something like that. Just this is the Broncos' opportunity to say, all right, we beat a high-end team like we're supposed to. Now let's show everyone that we belong with that in that conversation with those teams. Let's not just beat the team that we're supposed to beat. Let's beat them soundly, and let's get this offense rolling a little bit and show the media and the casual fans out there what the identity is of this offense. And I'm excited for that opportunity. It'll be tough. Always traveling overseas is a lot of adjustment, but I think they've got the horses right now. I think they've got guys who are committed to winning, and I think they've got good leadership and coaching. I think that you have all of those advantages over the Jets, and so you should probably, be able to breeze past them fairly easily with moderate effort. Yeah.
And I think, Aaron Glenn is a former coach on Sean Payton's staff. I think he loves that, that Aaron got a chance. But I don't think that he would go Bush League, but I also don't think he's going to spare Aaron any, and I think if there's an opportunity to put 35 up to announce that they've arrived and like get this ship humming, he'll do it. And I think, yeah, you're right. I think they have an opportunity here to be that. I'm a little hesitant just to see how they handle success.
Yeah,
I think that they're going to win. I don't know if it'll look as pretty as we want it to, but I think if it does, I think we're in for a pretty good stretch too. They got some really favorable matchups over the next several weeks.
I mean, it
could be a good opportunity to keep the pedal to the metal.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going the length of the field every time and scoring touchdowns. It means our defense is pinning their ears back. We're getting favorable field position. We're getting turnovers, maybe a defensive touchdown. Really like putting a statement like, "Hey, we're dangerous on both sides of the ball."
Yep. Yeah. And right now they have 1 interception, 3 fumble recoveries. So, maybe this is a game too where you get a pick 6, a fumble 6, you get a couple big turnovers, game-changing stuff. Nick Benito finally gets strip sack, fumble, things like that. Yeah. So they've been winning with just like sound defensive play, not necessarily game-changing defensive play. And I think at some point, you saw it with Hufanga almost getting that pick.
Yeah.
They're really close to those things. And I think at some point that dam is going to break. Maybe that's this week for sure. So good stuff. Any thoughts before you transition us out, big man?
No, I think we're good. We're excited to talk about the Broncos and Avs next week, as well as some other things that, we're getting close to the NBA season, and we'll always be talking potential draft prospects. So always join us on Wednesdays, 2:30. We'll be here to break down all of your Colorado sports. But in the meantime, we appreciate you being here today, and make sure that you are kind to one another. Be safe out there. And go Broncos.
Hey, you know what? Not yet.
Oh, and also, if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
That's better.
Yeah, I know.
From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My high sports symposium, let the good times flow. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My high sports symposium, let the good times flow.